You will never conquer the world until you first conquer yourself. Your mind is your first battlefield, and most lose the war before it even begins. In this message, I will show you the 7 pillars of imperial thinking. These are the foundations of domination, mental discipline, emotional control, strategic clarity. You were not meant to serve. You were meant to rule. But only if you master the terrain of your own thoughts. Victory begins within. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready. To master your mind and tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully. The greatest war you will ever fight is not against your enemies. It is against yourself. Every morning you wake up, you face a choice. Will you command your day, or will it command you? Will you master your thoughts, or will they master you? This is the first battlefield. This is where empires are born or buried. I conquered nations because I first conquered the chaos within my own mind. Before I ever set foot on a battlefield, I had already won the war inside my head. You see, most men are not defeated by their circumstances. They are defeated by their own weakness. They surrender to doubt before the first shot is fired. They bow to fear before the enemy even appears. But you are different. You are here because something inside you refuses to accept mediocrity. Something inside you knows you were meant for more. That voice you hear whispering about greatness, that is not delusion. That is destiny calling. Here's what most people don't understand about power. Power is not given. It is taken. It is seized by those who refuse to wait for permission. It is claimed by those who understand that the only authority that matters is the authority you give yourself. The world does not owe you anything. Success does not owe you anything. Greatness does not owe you anything. But you owe yourself everything. Your first enemy is not the competition. Your first enemy is your own hesitation. Every time you pause when you should act, you give ground to the enemy. Every time you doubt when you should decide, you surrender territory. Every time you wait for the perfect moment, you let the moment pass. I did not wait for perfect conditions to cross the Alps. I did not wait for favorable weather to crown myself emperor. I created the conditions. I made the weather favorable. I bent reality to my will through sheer force of decision. This is what separates conquerors from commoners. Conquerors act, commoners react. The battlefield of the mind is where your character is forged. It is where your discipline is tested. It is where your resolve is proven. Every thought you think is either building your empire or tearing it down. Every decision you make is either advancing your position or retreating from it. There is no neutral ground in the war for greatness. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you declared war on your own limitations? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and demanded more from the person staring back at you? When was the last time you stopped making excuses and started making moves? Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. It is either the throne from which you rule your destiny or the prison in which you waste your potential. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Time does not wait for the uncertain. Opportunity does not pause for the unprepared. I am Napoleon Bonaparte. I rose from nothing to rule everything because I understood one fundamental truth. The man who controls his mind controls his world. The man who masters himself masters everything else. You are not here by accident. You are here because greatness recognizes greatness. You are here because empire calls to empire. The war begins now. The battlefield is your mind. Victory starts today. Will you answer the call, or will you remain among the conquered? The choice, as always, is yours alone. Before I led armies across Europe, I mastered the army within myself. Before I commanded nations, I learned to command my own state of mind. This is the law of internal command, the foundation upon which all external power is built. You cannot lead what you do not control. You cannot conquer what you have not first mastered within yourself. Listen to me carefully. Your thoughts are not random. They are not accidents. They are either disciplined soldiers marching in formation, or they are a mob running wild through the streets of your consciousness. The difference between greatness and mediocrity is simple. Great men organize their thoughts like generals, organize their troops. Every morning I would wake before dawn and conduct what I called the assembly of the mind. I would gather my thoughts, inspect them like troops, and dismiss those that served no purpose. Worry? Dismissed. Doubt? Court-martialed. Fear? Exiled. Only thoughts that advanced my mission were allowed to remain in formation. You must do the same. Your mind is not a democracy, where every thought gets a vote. Your mind is an empire, and you are the emperor. Some thoughts deserve promotion, others deserve execution. Learn the difference, or live in chaos forever. But here's what most people don't understand about mental sovereignty. It is not about suppressing your emotions. It is about directing them. Anger can fuel determination or destroy focus. The choice is yours. Fear can paralyze action or sharpen preparation. Again, your choice. Desire can create obsession or drive ambition. The emotion is neutral. Your command of it determines its value. I felt fear before every major battle. The difference was that I used fear as intelligence, not interference. Fear told me where to place extra guards. It showed me which flanks needed reinforcement. It revealed the gaps in my strategy. But I never let fear make decisions for me. Fear informed. I commanded. This is mental regulation, the ability to feel everything while being controlled by nothing. You acknowledge the storm, but you remain the captain of your ship. You recognize the turbulence, but you keep your hands steady on the wheel. This is not numbness. This is mastery. Your focus is your most valuable resource. Guard it like you guard your fortune. Protect it like you protect your family. Most people scatter their attention like seeds in the wind, then wonder why nothing grows. You must concentrate your mental force like sunlight through a magnifying glass, powerful enough to ignite whatever it touches. I could think about one thing for hours without distraction. While other generals worried about a dozen concerns, I focused on the single factor that would determine victory. This is the difference between depth and surface. Surface thinking produces surface results. Deep thinking produces deep change. Every day, practice the discipline of single focus. Choose one priority and defend it against all mental invaders. When irrelevant thoughts attack, repel them immediately. When urgent distractions demand attention, remind them who is in command. Your priority is your priority. Everything else is noise. But let me ask you this. Who is really in control of your mental state right now? When you wake up, do you choose your mood, or does your mood choose you? When challenges arise, do you decide your response, or do your reactions decide? For you, when pressure mounts, do you remain composed or do you crumble under the weight? The law of internal command demands that you become the undisputed ruler of your own consciousness. This means developing what I call the IMPERIAL pause, the space between stimulus and response where true power lives. In that pause, you choose. In that pause, you command. In that pause, you prove whether you are emperor or slave. Most men are slaves to their first impulse. They react without thinking, respond without choosing, surrender without fighting. But you are different. You understand that the gap between what happens to you and how you respond is where freedom lives. That gap is your kingdom. Rule it absolutely. Your state of mind is not determined by your circumstances. Your circumstances are shaped by your state of mind. Change your internal command, and you change your external world. Master your mental sovereignty, and you master everything else. This is not philosophy. This is warfare, the war for control of your own mind. Win this war, and every other victory becomes possible. Lose this war, and nothing else matters. The battlefield is within you. The time is now. Command yourself or remain forever commanded by others. No empire was ever built by accident. No greatness was ever achieved through chaos. Every monument to human achievement stands upon a foundation of discipline, rigid, uncompromising, and absolute. Your habits are either building your empire or ensuring your defeat. There is no middle ground. I rose every day at 4 in the morning, not because I enjoyed it, but because empires are built in the hours when others sleep. While my enemies dreamed, I planned. While they rested, I prepared. While they sought comfort, I sought advantage. This is the mathematics of greatness, small. Disciplines, repeated daily, create massive results over time. Your destiny is not written in the stars. Your destiny is written in your daily routine. Show me a man's habits, and I will show you his future. Show me what he does when no one is watching, and I will predict what he will become when everyone is watching. Discipline in private creates power in public. But here's what most people don't understand about discipline. It is not punishment. It is preparation. It is not restriction. It is liberation. Every small act of self-control is a deposit in the bank of your future self. Every moment of restraint is an investment in your eventual freedom. I structured my days like military campaigns. Every hour had a purpose. Every activity had a mission. Every choice had a consequence. This is not rigidity. This is intentionality. Random actions produce random results. Disciplined actions produce predictable power. Your morning routine is your declaration of war against mediocrity. How you begin your day determines how you live your life. I would review my maps before I reviewed my breakfast. I would plan my battles before I planned my meetings. First things first. Always. Priority is the essence of discipline. Most men are slaves to their impulses. They eat when they feel like eating, sleep when they feel like sleeping, work when they feel like working. They live at the mercy of their moods, the prisoners of their preferences. But you must be different. You must eat when eating serves your mission. You must sleep when sleep advances your purpose. You must work when work builds your empire. Discipline is the bridge between thought and accomplishment, between dream and reality, between who you are and who you could become. Without discipline, your goals are fantasies. Your plans are wishes. Your potential is wasted. With discipline, everything becomes possible. I trained my body like I trained my armies through repetition, challenge, and progressive demand. Physical discipline creates mental discipline. Mental discipline creates emotional discipline. Emotional discipline creates spiritual discipline. Master one, and you begin to master all. But let me ask you this. What are you disciplined about? What do you do every day, regardless of how you feel? What standards do you maintain when no one is forcing you to maintain them? What commitments do you honor when honoring them is difficult? Your level of discipline determines your level of respect. Respect from others, and more importantly, respect from yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-trust. Every time you break a commitment to yourself, you erode your own foundation. Your relationship with discipline is your relationship with your own power. The undisciplined mind is like an army without training. It may have potential, but it cannot execute when execution matters most. The disciplined mind is like a seasoned regiment, calm under pressure, precise under fire, unstoppable when directed toward a clear objective. Start today. Choose one area of your life and impose absolute discipline upon it. Make it non-negotiable. Make it sacred. Make it the foundation upon which you will build everything else. Whether it is your morning routine, your physical training, your learning schedule, or your work habits, choose one and master it completely. Here's what most people don't understand about ruthless focus. Small disciplines create large freedoms. The man who cannot control his eating cannot control his business. The man who cannot control his schedule cannot control his destiny. The man who cannot discipline himself in small things will never discipline himself in great things. Your habits are your destiny in motion. Your routines are your future being written in real time. Every day you either write a page of greatness or a page of mediocrity. The choice is yours, but the choice must be made consciously, deliberately, and repeatedly. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is not about being superhuman. It is about being relentlessly human, showing up when you do not want to show up, continuing when you want to quit, pushing forward when everything in you wants to retreat. The disciplined man needs no external motivation. He carries his own fire. He creates his own weather. He builds his own momentum. This is the freedom that discipline provides. Freedom from dependence on circumstances, moods, or other people's approval. You become your own source of power. Discipline is destiny. Make your choice. Make it now. Make it permanent. The difference between a soldier and a general is simple. The soldier sees the battle. The general sees the war. The soldier thinks in moments. The general thinks in movements. The soldier acts from instinct. The general acts from intelligence. Today, you stop being a soldier in your own life and start being the general. Strategic thinking is not about being clever. It is about being complete. It is seeing not just what is, but what could be. Not just what happened, but what might happen. Not just the immediate move, but the ultimate outcome. While others react to circumstances, you create them. I never entered a battle without knowing how it would end. Not because I could predict the future, but because I had studied every possible future and prepared for each one. This is the essence of strategic thinking, scenario planning, contingency preparation, and systems awareness. Before every campaign, I would spend weeks studying maps, not of where I was, but of where I intended to be. I would trace supply lines, identify choke points, anticipate enemy movements, and plan 3 moves ahead. Most generals planned their next attack. I planned my next 3 victories. Your life requires the same strategic depth. You cannot simply react to what happens. You must anticipate what will happen and position yourself accordingly. This means thinking in systems, not events. Understanding that everything connects to everything else. Recognizing that today's decisions create tomorrow's opportunities or limitations. But here's what most people don't understand about strategic thinking. It is not about having all the answers. It is about asking better questions. The right question reveals more than a dozen wrong answers. The strategic mind does not seek to know everything. It seeks to understand what matters most. When facing any challenge, I would ask myself 3 questions. What is the real objective here? What are all the ways this could unfold? What would I need to believe or do differently to guarantee success? These questions transformed complex situations into clear choices. Apply this to your own life. When facing a career decision, do not just think about the immediate benefits. Think about where this path leads in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. When choosing relationships, do not just consider present chemistry. Consider long-term compatibility, shared values, and mutual growth potential. Strategic thinking requires emotional detachment. You cannot think clearly while thinking emotionally. Emotion clouds judgment. Emotion creates blind spots. Emotion makes you reactive instead of responsive. The strategic mind remains cool under pressure, clear under stress, and focused under fire. I learned to separate my feelings about a situation from my analysis of the situation. I might have preferred one outcome over another, but my preferences did not change the facts. My hopes did not alter the reality. My fears did not determine the strategy. Facts determined strategy. Strategy determined action. Action determined results. This is the discipline of objective analysis, seeing things as they are, not as you wish they were. Most people lose because they fight the war they want to fight instead of the war that actually exists. They prepare for the challenge they expect instead of the challenge they face. Strategic thinking also means understanding leverage, the points where small actions create large results. In warfare, this might be cutting supply lines instead of attacking fortifications. In business, this might be changing systems instead of working harder. In personal development, this might be changing habits instead of forcing willpower. Look for the fulcrum points in your life. Where can minimum effort create maximum impact? Where can small changes create big results? Where can strategic positioning eliminate the need for tactical struggle? This is how empires are built, through leverage, not just labor. But let me ask you this. How far ahead do you think? When you make decisions, do you consider only the immediate consequences or the ultimate implications? When you plan your day, do you think about how it fits into your week, your month, your year, your decade? Most people are tactically busy but strategically lost. They work hard but work randomly. They move quickly but move in circles. They fight battles they should avoid and avoid battles they should fight. Strategic thinking eliminates this waste. The strategic mind thinks in probabilities, not certainties. It prepares for multiple scenarios, not single outcomes. It builds redundancy, not rigidity. It creates options, not obligations. This is how you become unbeatable, not by being perfect, but by being prepared. Every great achievement began with great thinking. Every empire began with an idea. Every victory began with a vision. But vision without strategy is hallucination. Dreams without plans are fantasies. Goals without systems are wishes. You have the capacity for strategic brilliance. You have the ability to see patterns others miss, anticipate changes others ignore, and position yourself where others cannot compete. But this capacity must be developed, practiced, and applied. Start thinking like the general of your own life. Study your terrain, know your resources, understand your enemies, plan your campaigns, execute your strategies, win your wars. The battlefield is waiting. The victory is possible. The only question is whether you will think like a conqueror or continue thinking like the conquered. The man who cannot control his emotions cannot control anything else. Emotion is either your weapon or your weakness. It is either the force that drives your success or the weakness that guarantees your failure. There is no middle ground in the war between feeling and thinking. One must rule, the other must serve. Have stood on battlefields where the air itself seemed to scream with terror. I have faced armies twice the size of my own. I have watched men around me break under pressure that would crush mountains. But I remained steady, not because I felt no fear, but because I refused to let fear make decisions for me. Emotional control is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming calculated. It is not about feeling nothing. It is about letting nothing you feel control what you think or what you do. The emperor feels everything, but is ruled by nothing. This is the difference between power and vulnerability. Your emotions are intelligence, not instructions. Anger tells you something matters to you. It does not tell you to attack. Fear tells you something threatens you. It does not tell you to retreat. Sadness tells you something has been lost. It does not tell you to give up. Emotions inform. You decide. But here's what most people don't understand about emotional mastery. The goal is not to suppress emotions. The goal is to use them. Anger can fuel determination or destroy judgment. Fear can create cowardice or inspire preparation. Love can create weakness or generate strength. The emotion is neutral. Your response determines its value. I learned early that every emotion carries a message and a choice. The message is information about your current state. The choice is what you will do with that information. Weak men are controlled by the message. Strong men control the choice. Emperors use both the message and the choice to advance their objectives. When I felt anger during negotiations, I did not explode. I listened to what the anger was telling me. Someone was trying to take advantage of me. Then I made a calculated decision about how to respond. Sometimes I showed the anger to establish dominance. Sometimes I hid the anger to maintain advantage. The anger informed. I commanded. This is tactical supremacy, the ability to remain strategically, thinking while feeling intensely. Most people lose their ability to think clearly when emotions run high, but high emotions are precisely when clear thinking matters most. This is when decisions determine destinies. This is when control creates victory. Your emotional state determines your decision quality. Your decision quality determines your life quality. Therefore, Your emotional control is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is not something you develop when convenient. It is something you master as a matter of survival. Practice what I call the imperial pause. When emotion rises, pause before reacting. In that pause, ask yourself, what is this emotion telling me? What are my options for responding? Which response best serves my long-term objectives? Then choose deliberately, not automatically. The undisciplined man is a slave to his feelings. Happy when things go well, miserable when they do not, confident when supported, insecure when challenged, motivated when inspired, paralyzed when discouraged. His emotional state controls his entire experience of life. He is not living, he is being lived by his emotions. But you must be different. Your emotional state must be internally generated, not externally determined. Your confidence must come from your competence, not from circumstances. Your peace must come from your principles, not from other people's approval. Your power must come from your purpose, not from your position. I remained calm in the face of betrayal because betrayal was information, not devastation. I remained focused during defeats because defeats were education, not endings. I remained confident despite criticism because criticism was noise, not truth. My emotional state was determined by my mission, not by my circumstances. But let me ask you this: what controls your emotional state? Do you wake up happy or sad based on how you feel, or based on what you decide? Do you become angry because someone disrespects you, or do you choose your response to disrespect? Do you feel anxious because the future is uncertain, or do you feel excited because the future is full of possibilities? The same situation can create different emotions depending on how you frame it. A challenge can be seen as a threat or an opportunity. A setback can be viewed as a failure or as feedback. A conflict can be experienced as personal attack or professional. Development. Your frame determines your feeling. Your feeling influences your action. Your action creates your result. Master your frames, and you master your emotions. Master your emotions, and you master your decisions. Master your decisions, and you master your destiny. This is the chain of causation that separates conquerors from the conquered. Emotional control is a skill, not a talent. It can be developed through practice, strengthened through challenge, and perfected through repetition. Every time you choose your response instead of reacting automatically, you build emotional muscle. Every time you remain calm under pressure, you increase your capacity for future pressure. Start today. The next time you feel a strong emotion, do not act on it immediately. Pause, analyze, choose. This simple practice, repeated consistently, will transform your relationship with your own emotional life. You will move from being controlled by your feelings to using your feelings as fuel for your objectives. The emotionally controlled man is dangerous to his enemies and valuable to his allies. He cannot be manipulated through fear, seduced through flattery, or broken through pressure. He makes decisions based on strategy, not sentiment. He acts from strength, not reactivity. He leads from position, not emotion. Emotional control is tactical supremacy. Master it, and you become unbeatable. Ignore it, and you remain vulnerable. The choice, as always, is yours. The man who speaks least often speaks with greatest authority. The man who explains everything controls nothing. The man who justifies his actions reveals his insecurities. Power does not announce itself. Power simply exists. And in its existence, it commands respect through presence, not through words. Learned early that silence is not the absence of communication. It is the most powerful form of communication. When I remained quiet while others argued, I appeared in control. When I listened while others spoke, I gained intelligence. When I withheld my opinion while others revealed theirs, I maintained advantage. Silence is not passivity. Silence is strategy. Most people fear silence. They fill every pause with words, every gap with explanation, every moment of quiet with nervous chatter. They believe that speaking proves their intelligence, that explaining demonstrates their competence, that talking shows their engagement. They are wrong. Speaking often proves insecurity. Over-explaining demonstrates weakness. Excessive talking reveals anxiety. But here's what most people don't understand about the power of silence. It forces others to reveal themselves. When you remain quiet, others feel compelled to fill the void. When you withhold judgment, others seek your approval. When you say nothing, others say everything. This is psychological leverage at its most sophisticated level. In negotiations, I would often let my opponent speak first, speak longest, and speak most. While they revealed their position, their priorities, and their pressure points, I revealed nothing. Knowledge is power, but hidden knowledge is supreme power. The man who knows what others think while keeping his own thoughts private holds every advantage. Your words should be like your sword, kept sheathed until the moment of decisive action. When you speak, let it be with purpose, precision, and power. Let every word carry weight. Let every sentence serve a strategy. Let every conversation advance your objectives. Speak when speaking serves you. Remain silent when silence serves you better. The compulsive need to explain yourself is a sign of insecurity. The emperor does not justify his decisions to his subjects. The general does not explain his strategies to his enemies. The master does not defend his methods to his students. Your actions should speak for themselves. Your results should be your explanation. Your success should be your justification. I rarely defended my decisions publicly because defense suggests doubt. I rarely explained my methods because explanation reduces mystery. I rarely justified my actions because justification implies the need for approval. The moment you begin explaining yourself to everyone, you give everyone power over you. But let me ask you this. How often do you speak when you should listen? How often do you explain when you should simply act? How often do you justify when you should simply decide? How often do you reveal when you should conceal? Silence creates psychological pressure that works in your favor. When others are uncertain about your thoughts, they become more careful about their actions. When they cannot predict your response, they become more respectful in their approach. When they do not know where you stand, they assume you stand in a position of strength. This is the mystique of power, the aura of authority that comes from restraint, not revelation. The most powerful people in history were often the most mysterious. They revealed enough to demonstrate competence, but withheld enough to maintain intrigue. They shared their conclusions but protected their process. They showed their strength but hid their strategy. Practice strategic silence in your daily interactions. When someone criticizes you, do not immediately defend yourself. When someone challenges your decision, do not instantly explain your reasoning. When someone questions your authority, do not frantically prove your competence. Let your silence speak for itself. Let your composure demonstrate your confidence. Silence also protects you from revealing too much too soon. Every word you speak is intelligence you give away. Every opinion you share is a position you must defend. Every emotion you display is a weakness others can exploit. The wise man keeps his own counsel until counsel is requested or required. In conflict, silence can be more devastating than any argument. When someone attacks you verbally, remaining silent often unsettles them more than fighting back. When someone tries to provoke you emotionally, non-reaction demonstrates superior self-control. When someone attempts to draw you into their drama, your refusal to engage reveals your strength. Your silence should make others wonder what you are thinking, not what you are feeling. It should create curiosity about your plans, not confusion about your position. It should suggest hidden depths, not empty spaces. This is the difference between powerful silence and weak silence. The man who cannot remain silent cannot truly listen. The man who must always speak cannot genuinely observe. The man who explains everything understands nothing about psychological dynamics. Your ears are designed to work more than your mouth. Use them accordingly. However, understand this: silence without substance is meaningless. You must have something worth keeping quiet about. You must possess knowledge worth concealing. You must hold power worth protecting. Empty silence is just emptiness. Powerful silence is full of potential energy waiting for the right moment to be released. When you do speak, make it count. Make it memorable. Make it matter. Let your words be so precise, so powerful, so perfectly timed that people remember them long after the conversation ends. Quality over quantity, impact over volume, precision over proliferation. Silence is not withdrawal from the world. It is strategic engagement with the world. It is not hiding from power. It is wielding power through restraint. It is not avoiding influence. It is exercising influence through mystery. Master the weapon of silence, and you master one of the most sophisticated tools of psychological warfare. Use it wisely, and you will find that saying nothing often accomplishes more than saying everything. The strong remain silent until silence no longer serves them. Then they speak, and the world listens. The man who clings too tightly to outcomes loses his grip on the process. The man who demands guarantees gets nothing guaranteed. The man who cannot accept uncertainty cannot achieve greatness. You must learn to hold your goals firmly while holding your expectations lightly. This is the paradox of power: caring deeply while remaining detached. I planned every campaign with meticulous detail, but I never assumed any campaign would unfold exactly as planned. I prepared for victory, but I also prepared for unexpected challenges, changing conditions, and shifting circumstances. The wise general controls what he can control and adapts to what he cannot control. Everything else is wasted energy. Attachment to specific outcomes creates anxiety. Because you cannot control outcomes, you can only influence them. You cannot guarantee that others will respond as you wish. You cannot ensure that circumstances will align as you hope. You cannot force reality to match your expectations, but you can control your preparation, your effort, and your response to whatever happens. This is the freedom that comes from detachment, freedom from the anxiety of uncertainty, freedom from the pressure of perfection, freedom from the paralysis of overthinking. When you stop demanding that life give you exactly what you want, exactly when you want it, you start seeing opportunities that attachment blinds you to. But here's what most people don't understand about detachment. It is not indifference. It is not apathy. It is not giving up. Detachment is caring about the process more than the result. It is focusing on what you can control rather than what you cannot control. It is investing in the journey rather than gambling on the destination. I cared deeply about expanding my empire, but I was not attached to conquering any specific territory at any specific time. I wanted to win every battle, but I was not devastated. When I occasionally lost one, I preferred certain outcomes, but I was prepared for all possible outcomes. This mental flexibility gave me strategic advantage. When you become attached to specific outcomes, you become rigid in your thinking and reactive in your behavior. You miss opportunities because they do not match your expectations. You overlook solutions because they do not fit your preferred scenario. You waste energy fighting reality instead of working with reality. The detached mind remains open to possibilities that the attached mind cannot see. It considers options that desperation rejects. It finds paths that anxiety blocks. It creates solutions that attachment prevents. Detachment is not a weakness. It is a superpower. Apply this to your own ambitions. Work toward your goals with intensity, but hold your timeline lightly. Pursue your vision with passion, but remain flexible about the path. Commit to your values completely, but adapt your methods constantly. This is how you become unstoppable, not through rigidity, but through responsiveness. Most people create their own suffering through attachment to outcomes they cannot control. They become angry when others do not behave as expected. They become anxious when progress does not happen as planned. They become discouraged when results do not arrive as hoped. All of this suffering is self-created through the illusion that they can control more than they actually can. But let me ask you this. How much mental energy do you waste worrying about things you cannot control? How much stress do you create by demanding that reality match your preferences? How much power do you give away by becoming emotionally dependent on specific outcomes? The Stoic understands that he can control his thoughts, his decisions, and his actions. Everything else is outside his direct control. He can influence other people, but he cannot control them. He can prepare for the future, but he cannot guarantee it. He can work toward outcomes, but he cannot force them. This understanding creates tremendous peace and power. When you stop trying to control what you cannot control, you have more energy to control what you can control. When you stop demanding guarantees from an uncertain world, you become more capable of handling uncertainty. When you stop being attached to specific results, you become more effective at creating better results. I did not conquer Europe because I was attached to conquering Europe. I conquered Europe because I was committed to strategic excellence, tactical preparation, and adaptive execution. The conquering was the result, not the attachment. The empire was the outcome, not the obsession. Focus on being excellent in your preparation. Focus on being disciplined in your process. Focus on being persistent in your effort. Focus on being adaptive in your approach. Focus on being resilient in your response. The outcomes will take care of themselves. Detachment also protects you from the emotional roller coaster of success and failure. When you win, you remain grounded because you know that winning was the result of good process, not good luck. When you lose, you remain confident because you know that losing was feedback, not failure. Your self-worth is not attached to external results. This is emotional freedom, the ability to pursue ambitious goals without becoming anxious about achieving them. The ability to work intensely without becoming tense about results. The ability to care deeply without becoming dependent on outcomes. This is how emperors think, and this is how you must learn to think. Practice detachment daily. When you make plans, hold them lightly. When you set goals, focus on the process. When you pursue objectives, remain open to unexpected opportunities. When you work toward outcomes, accept whatever happens as information for your next decision. The man who can let go of outcomes paradoxically becomes more likely to achieve the outcomes he desires. The man who stops demanding specific results often gets better results than he demanded. The man who detaches from his expectations often exceeds his expectations. Control what you can control. Influence what you can influence. Accept what you cannot change. This is not resignation. This is wisdom. This is not giving up. This is growing up. This is not weakness. This is the ultimate expression of strength. Detach from the outcome, and you become free to create better outcomes. Release your grip on specific results, and you gain the power to produce superior results. Let go of your need to control everything, and you discover your ability to influence anything. The need for approval is the death of authority. The desire for validation is the suicide of sovereignty. The moment you give others the power to determine your worth, you surrender the only power that truly matters, the power to determine your own value. You were not born to seek permission. You were born to grant it. I did not ask for approval when I crowned myself emperor. I did not seek validation when I rewrote the legal code of Europe. I did not require permission when I restructured the map of the continent. I acted from my own authority because I understood a fundamental truth. Authority that requires external approval is not authority at all. It is dependency disguised as leadership. The approval instinct is a prison that most people build for themselves. They become addicted to applause, dependent on praise, paralyzed without permission. They modify their behavior to match other people's expectations. They suppress their authentic thoughts to avoid disapproval. They sacrifice their vision to maintain their reputation. This is not living. This is performing. But here's what most people don't understand about the addiction to approval. It makes you weak because it makes you controllable. When others know you need their validation, they hold power over you. When they understand you fear their disapproval, they can manipulate your behavior. When they recognize your dependency on their opinion, they own your decisions. Every time you adjust your actions to gain someone's approval, you give them control over your life. Every time you modify your decisions to avoid someone's criticism, you make them your master. Every time you suppress your authentic self to maintain someone's good opinion, you become their slave. This is how free people become prisoners of other people's preferences. I made decisions that were unpopular because they were correct. I took actions that were criticized because they were necessary. I pursued objectives that were misunderstood because they were important. My validation came from my results, not from other people's reactions to my methods. This is the difference between leadership and performance. Your worth is not determined by popular opinion. Your value is not established by social approval. Your authority is not granted by external validation. These things come from within, or they do not come at all. The emperor needs no coronation from others. He crowns himself through his actions, his achievements, and his unwavering commitment to his own standards. The need for approval creates indecision because you become paralyzed by the possibility of criticism. You hesitate to act because someone might disapprove. You avoid bold moves because they might be misunderstood. You choose safe options because they are socially acceptable. This is how the approval instinct turns potential conquerors into perpetual followers. But let me ask you this: whose approval are you seeking? Why do you give them the power to determine your direction? What makes their opinion more important than your own judgment? When did you decide that their comfort was more valuable than your growth? Most people seek approval from those who have achieved less than they have, know less than they know, and risk less than they are willing to risk. They allow mediocre minds to judge ambitious plans. They permit comfortable people to evaluate uncomfortable truths. They let average individuals determine extraordinary standards. This is insanity disguised as social consideration. The approval addiction also prevents authentic relationships because people cannot love what they cannot see, and they cannot see your authentic self if you are constantly performing for their approval. When you modify yourself to gain acceptance, you are not being accepted. Your performance is being accepted. The real you remains hidden, unloved, and unknown. I surrounded myself with people who respected my authority, not people whose approval I needed. I valued advisors who told me the truth, not courtiers who told me what they thought I wanted to hear. I chose allies based on their competence, not their capacity to make me feel good about myself. This is how you build an empire. Instead of an ego-feeding operation, your standards must be higher than society's standards. Your expectations must exceed other people's expectations. Your commitment to excellence must surpass other people's commitment to comfort. You cannot achieve extraordinary results while seeking ordinary approval. You cannot create exceptional value while avoiding exceptional criticism. The path to greatness is always a lonely path because most people are not committed to greatness. They are committed to safety, comfort, and social acceptance. When you choose growth over comfort, excellence over approval, and truth over popularity, you separate yourself from the majority. This separation is not punishment. It is promotion. Start practicing approval independence today. Make decisions based on your judgment, not other people's preferences. Pursue goals that matter to you, not goals that impress others. Take actions that align with your values, not actions that avoid criticism. Live according to your own standards, not according to social expectations. This does not mean becoming inconsiderate or unnecessarily provocative. It means becoming internally referenced instead of externally dependent. It means generating your own validation instead of seeking it from others. It means standing in your own authority instead of borrowing authority from others' opinions. The man who needs no approval is dangerous to those who profit from controlling others through approval and disapproval. The man who validates himself cannot be manipulated through praise or punishment. The man who knows his own worth cannot be diminished by other people's opinions or elevated by other people's flattery. When you destroy the approval instinct, you discover something remarkable. You often gain more respect from others because you no longer desperately need their respect. People are naturally drawn to those who are complete within themselves. They follow those who lead themselves. They trust those who do not need their approval to feel valuable. You came into this world with inherent worth that requires no external validation. You will leave this world with the same inherent worth, regardless of how many people approved or disapproved of your choices. In between birth and death, you have the opportunity to live according to your own authority or to remain enslaved by others' opinions. Choose authority. Choose sovereignty. Choose the internal validation that comes from living according to your own highest standards. Destroy the approval instinct, and you will discover the freedom that comes from needing nothing from anyone except the opportunity to express your authentic power. The crown belongs to those who crown themselves. Wear yours with pride, regardless of who applauds or who objects. Vagueness is the enemy of victory. Ambiguity is the assassin of achievement. The man who cannot define his target cannot hit his target. The man who will not commit to specifics cannot achieve specifics. Precision is power, and power demands precision in thought, word, and action. I conquered nations not through grand gestures, but through precise calculations. I won battles not through overwhelming force, but through exact positioning. I built an empire not through vague ambitions, but through specific objectives, executed with surgical accuracy. Every great achievement in history began with someone refusing to accept fuzzy thinking as a substitute for clear thinking. Most people live in a fog of vagueness. They want to be successful, but cannot define what success means to them. They want to be wealthy, but have no specific financial targets. They want to be respected, but have no clear picture of what respectful behavior looks like. They want to be powerful, but have no concrete understanding of what power means or how to acquire it. This vagueness is not innocent confusion. It is self-imposed limitation. When your goals are vague, your efforts become scattered. When your objectives are unclear, your actions become unfocused. When your standards are ambiguous, your results become inconsistent. Precision eliminates waste and multiplies effectiveness, but here's what most people don't understand about the power of precision. It forces you to confront reality. When you define exactly what you want, you must also acknowledge exactly what it will cost. When you specify your destination, you must plan your route. When you clarify your target, you must develop the skills to hit it. Precision removes the comfortable cushion of self-deception. I never attacked a city without knowing exactly which gates were weakest, which walls were lowest, and which defenders were most likely to break. I never entered a negotiation without understanding precisely what I would accept, what I would reject, and what I would demand. I never made a decision without clear criteria for measuring its success or failure. Apply this same surgical thinking to your own life. Instead of wanting to be in good shape, define exactly what physical condition you will achieve: specific weight, specific measurements, specific performance standards. Instead of wanting to be financially secure, determine the exact amount of money you need and the precise timeline for acquiring it. Precision also applies to your daily execution. Most people work hard, but work randomly. They stay busy but accomplish little because their efforts lack focus. They confuse motion with progress, activity with achievement, hours worked with value created. Precision transforms effort into results. Your time must be allocated with military precision. Your energy must be invested with strategic calculation. Your attention must be focused with laser intensity. The man who tries to do everything accomplishes nothing. The man who focuses on the essential accomplishes everything that matters. I would spend hours studying maps, not because I enjoyed geography, but because precision in planning created advantage in execution. 5 minutes of precise planning saved hours of confused execution. 1 hour of accurate analysis prevented days of misdirected effort. This is the mathematics of excellence. Precision in preparation multiplies power in performance. But let me ask you this: how precise are your current goals? Can you define exactly what you want to achieve, by when, and how you will measure progress? Do you know specifically what actions you will take today to advance toward your objectives? Can you clearly articulate what success looks like in measurable terms? Precision eliminates procrastination because it removes ambiguity about what needs to be done. When your next action is clearly defined, you cannot hide behind confusion about where to start. When your standards are specifically established, you cannot rationalize substandard performance. When your objectives are precisely articulated, you cannot avoid accountability for results. The precise man becomes dangerous to his competition because he knows exactly what he is trying to accomplish while they are still figuring out what they want. He moves with purpose while they move with hope. He measures progress while they measure effort. He hits specific targets while they aim at general directions. Precision also applies to your communication. Most people speak in generalities, think in abstractions, and commit to approximations. But power communicates specifically. When I gave orders, there was no confusion about what was expected when it was expected, and how success would be measured. Clarity of communication creates certainty of execution. Your words must be weapons of precision, not clouds of confusion. Say what you mean what you say. Commit to specifics. Demand specifics from others. Eliminate qualifying phrases that weaken your message. Remove unnecessary words that dilute your impact. Speak with the precision of a surgeon and the authority of an emperor. This demand for precision must extend to your thinking patterns. Most people think in comfortable generalities because specific thinking requires uncomfortable honesty. It is easier to say, "I want to be successful," than to define exactly what success means and acknowledge what you are currently doing that prevents you from achieving it. Precise thinking reveals gaps in your knowledge, weaknesses in your preparation, and flaws in your current approach. This revelation is painful but necessary. You cannot fix problems, you cannot clearly define, you cannot solve challenges, you cannot specifically identify, you cannot improve performance, you cannot accurately measure. The power of precision also includes the precision to say no. Most people fail not because they cannot do the right things, but because they cannot stop doing the wrong things. They lack the precision to distinguish between what is important and what is merely urgent, between what is essential and what is simply interesting. I succeeded because I was precise about what I would pursue and equally precise about what I would ignore. I said yes to opportunities that advanced my empire and no to distractions that did not. This precision of focus created concentration of power that overwhelmed less focused opponents. Start demanding precision from yourself today. Define your goals with mathematical accuracy. Plan your actions with military specificity. Measure your progress with scientific objectivity. Communicate your expectations with legal clarity. Execute your plans with surgical precision. The man who operates with precision in a world full of vagueness possesses a decisive advantage. He knows where he is going while others wander. He knows what he wants while others hope. He knows how to get there while others guess. This is the power of precision, and this power can be yours if you are willing to think clearly, speak specifically, and act with surgical accuracy. Precision is not perfectionism. Precision is clarity. Clarity of thought, clarity of purpose. Clarity of action, master precision, and you master the ability to transform vague dreams into specific realities. The man who cannot adapt cannot survive. The army that cannot adjust cannot win. The empire that cannot evolve cannot endure. This is the law of survival, the principle of victory, the foundation of empire. Rigidity is death. Flexibility is life. Adaptation is power. I conquered Europe, not because I had the largest armies, but because I had the most adaptable strategies. While my enemies clung to outdated tactics, I invented new ones. While they fought yesterday's wars, I prepared for tomorrow's battles. While they perfected old methods, I created new possibilities. This is how smaller forces defeat larger forces, through superior adaptability. Most people resist change because change threatens their comfort. They prefer familiar problems to unfamiliar solutions. They choose predictable failure over uncertain success. They cling to methods that no longer work because learning new methods requires temporary incompetence. This resistance to adaptation is not just weakness, it is suicide. But here's what most people don't understand about adaptation. It is not about abandoning your principles, it is about evolving your methods. Your core values should remain constant, but your tactics must remain flexible. Your destination should stay fixed, but your route must stay adjustable. Your standards should be permanent, but your strategies should be temporary. When the terrain changed, I changed my approach to the terrain. When the enemy adapted, I adapted faster. When circumstances shifted, I shifted more quickly. I was not attached to any particular method, only to results. This detachment from specific approaches allowed me to discover superior approaches. The adaptable mind treats failure as feedback, obstacles as intelligence, and setbacks as setup for comebacks. Every challenge becomes information about what to do differently. Every defeat becomes education about how to win next time. Every crisis becomes opportunity to develop new capabilities. Apply this thinking to your own challenges. When your current approach is not producing desired results, do not persist harder, adapt faster. When circumstances change, change your methods before circumstances change your results. When new information contradicts old assumptions, update your assumptions instead of ignoring the information. Mental adaptability requires emotional detachment from your methods. Most people become emotionally invested in their approaches, their systems, and their routines. They confuse their methods with their identity. They mistake their tactics for their purpose. When forced to change their approach, they feel like they are changing themselves. This emotional attachment prevents necessary adaptation. I was not emotionally attached to any particular battle formation, any specific negotiation strategy, or any certain administrative system. I was attached to winning, to expanding my empire, and to leaving a legacy. How I achieved these objectives was always negotiable. What I achieved was not negotiable. This is the difference between means and ends. The rapidly changing world punishes those who cannot change rapidly. What worked yesterday may not work today. What works today may not work tomorrow. The skill that made you successful in the past may not make you successful in the future. The method that solved yesterday's problems may not solve today's problems. But let me ask you this: how quickly do you adapt when your current approach stops working? Do you persist with outdated methods because they are familiar, or do you experiment with new methods because they might be superior? When circumstances change, do you change with them or resist them? Adaptation also requires the humility to admit when you are wrong. Most people would rather be consistently wrong than occasionally uncertain. They prefer the comfort of familiar failure to the discomfort of unfamiliar learning. They choose the safety of known limitations over the risk of unknown possibilities. Made mistakes, but I made new mistakes. I did not repeat the same errors because repetition of errors is not perseverance. It is stupidity. Every mistake taught me something about what not to do next time. Every failure revealed information about how to succeed next time. This is how adaptation transforms defeats into victories. The adaptable person also adapts faster than circumstances require adaptation. They change before they have to change. They evolve before evolution becomes survival necessity. They prepare for tomorrow's challenges, while others are still dealing with yesterday's problems. This is proactive adaptation, changing ahead of the curve rather than behind it. Study your environment constantly. Notice trends before they become obvious. Identify patterns before they become problems. Anticipate changes before they become crises. This environmental awareness gives you time to adapt gradually, rather than being forced to adapt frantically. Adaptation requires the courage to abandon what is comfortable for what is necessary. This means leaving familiar territories for unfamiliar territories. It means trading certain competence for uncertain possibility. It means exchanging known limitations for unknown potential. This is not easy, but it is essential. The most dangerous phrase in any language is, "This is how we have always done it." The most limiting belief is, "If it is not broken, do not fix it." The most destructive attitude is, "We have tried that before." These phrases prevent adaptation. And what prevents adaptation prevents progress. I constantly questioned my own methods, challenged my own assumptions, and tested my own systems. I asked not just, "Does this work?" but "Could something else work better?" Not just, "Is this effective?" but "Could something else be more effective?" Not just, "Are we succeeding?" but "Could we succeed more efficiently?" Start practicing adaptation immediately. Question one assumption you have been taking for granted. Challenge one method you have been using automatically. Experiment with one approach you have been avoiding unnecessarily. This is how you develop adaptive capacity through conscious practice of adaptation. The adaptive mind is comfortable with uncertainty because uncertainty contains possibility. It is comfortable with change because change contains opportunity. It is comfortable with challenge because challenge contains growth. This comfort with discomfort is the foundation of adaptive strength. Empires that cannot adapt become ruins. Species that cannot evolve become extinct. People who cannot change become irrelevant. But those who master adaptation master survival, growth, and conquest. They become unbeatable, not because they cannot be defeated, but because they cannot be defeated permanently. Every defeat becomes set up for stronger comeback. Adapt or die. This is not a suggestion. It is a law. The question is not whether you will face situations requiring adaptation. The question is whether you will adapt successfully when those situations arise. Your survival, your growth, and your success depend on your answer to this question. The future belongs to the adaptable. Make sure you are among them. The man who blames others for his failures will never claim credit for his successes. The man who makes excuses for his defeats will never make victories from his efforts. The man who refuses to own his results will never own his destiny. Total responsibility is total power. Partial responsibility is partial power. No responsibility is no power. I never blamed my defeats on my soldiers, my victories on my luck, or my results on my circumstances. When I lost at Waterloo, I did not blame the weather, the timing, or the terrain. I accepted that I had made decisions that led to defeat. When I conquered Europe, I did not credit fortune, fate, or favorable conditions. I acknowledged that I had made choices that created victory. This is self-ownership, the foundation of all personal power. Every excuse you make is power you give away. Every time you blame circumstances for your results, you declare yourself powerless to change those results. Every time you credit external factors for your failures, you deny your ability to create different outcomes. This is not humility. This is self-imposed helplessness. But here's what most people don't understand about ruthless self-ownership. It is not about accepting blame for everything that happens to you. It is about accepting responsibility for everything you do with what happens to you. You cannot control all circumstances, but you can control all responses. You cannot determine all events, but you can determine all reactions. The victim mindset searches for someone to blame. The victor mindset searches for something to learn. The victim asks, "Who did this to me?" The victor asks, What can I do about this? The victim focuses on what was done. The victor focuses on what can be done. This is the difference between powerlessness and power. I faced conspiracies, betrayals, coalitions against me, and circumstances that were genuinely unfavorable. But I never allowed unfavorable circumstances to become excuses for poor performance. Instead, I used them as raw material for superior strategy. This is the alchemy of self-ownership, transforming obstacles into advantages through acceptance of responsibility. When you own your results completely, you gain the power to change your results completely. When you accept responsibility for your current situation, you claim authority over your future situation. When you stop blaming external factors for your position, you start controlling internal factors that determine your direction. Self-ownership means owning your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, and your actions. It means acknowledging that your current life is the result of your previous choices. It means accepting that your future life will be the result of your current choices. This awareness is terrifying and liberating simultaneously. Most people resist self-ownership because it removes the comfort of victimhood. As long as you can blame others for your problems, you do not have to solve your problems. As long as you can credit circumstances for your failures, you do not have to develop capabilities for success. Blame protects you from the burden of change, but it also prevents you from the power of progress. But let me ask you this. What are you currently blaming for your lack of progress? Who are you holding responsible for your current situation? What circumstances are you using as excuses for not achieving your objectives? These blame targets are actually power targets, areas where you can reclaim control. Self-ownership also means owning your successes without false modesty. When you achieve something significant, do not deflect credit to luck, timing, or other people's help. Acknowledge the role that external factors played, but also acknowledge the role that your decisions, efforts, and persistence played. This is not arrogance. This is accurate assessment. I worked with talented generals, favorable circumstances, and beneficial timing, but I also made the decisions that attracted talented people, created favorable circumstances, and capitalized on beneficial timing. Success is never purely individual, but it is never purely circumstantial either. Own your contribution to your achievements. The self-owned man takes responsibility for his relationships. If people do not respect him, he examines his behavior. If people do not trust him, he evaluates his reliability. If people do not support him, he considers his value to them. He does not blame others for treating him according to how he has taught them to treat him. This includes taking responsibility for your emotional state. Your happiness is not other people's responsibility. Your motivation is not external circumstances' responsibility. Your confidence is not outside events' responsibility. These internal states are your domain, your territory, your empire. Rule them accordingly. Self-ownership extends to your professional results. If you are not advancing in your career as quickly as you desire, examine your skills, your effort, your relationships, and your strategy. Do not blame office politics, unfair management, or economic conditions. These factors exist for everyone, but not everyone produces the same results despite these factors. When I was promoted rapidly through military ranks, it was not because I had connections or favorable conditions. It was because I outperformed others who had the same opportunities. When others complained about unfair treatment, I focused on superior performance. This is how self-ownership creates advancement. The completely self-owned person eliminates all victim language from his vocabulary. He does not say, "They made me angry." He says, "I chose to become angry." He does not say, "The situation forced me." He says, "I decided to respond this way." He does not say, "I had no choice." He says, "I made a choice I now regret." This linguistic precision reflects mental precision. The words you use to describe your experience shape your experience. When you speak like a victim, you think like a victim. When you speak like an owner, you think like an owner. Your language creates your Reality or your reality reflects your language. Start practicing ruthless self-ownership immediately. For the next week, eliminate all blame from your communication. When something goes wrong, ask, what could I have done differently? When results disappoint you, ask, how can I improve my approach? When others behave in ways you dislike, ask, how am I contributing to this dynamic? This practice will initially be uncomfortable because it removes the emotional relief of blame. But it will quickly become empowering because it restores your sense of control. Every problem becomes solvable when you own your role in creating it. Every challenge becomes manageable when you accept responsibility for managing it. Self-ownership is not self-blame. Self-blame is destructive and focused on past mistakes. Self-ownership is constructive and focused on future improvement. Self-blame asks, how could I have been so stupid? Self-ownership asks, how can I be smarter next time? The man who owns everything, his failures and his successes, his mistakes and his achievements, his current position and his future potential. This ownership is not a burden. It is liberation. It is freedom from dependency on others for his results. It is power to create whatever results he chooses to create. Own your life completely, and you gain the power to change your life completely. Accept responsibility for everything, and you claim authority over everything. This is not philosophy. This is the practical foundation of personal empire. Own it all or own nothing. The choice is yours. Victory is forged in silence, shaped in solitude, and perfected in private. The battles you win in public are won by the preparation you do in private. The strength others see in the light is built by the work you do in the dark. The emperor you become in front of others is created by the discipline you practice when alone. Before I conquered nations, I conquered myself in the silence of my private chambers. Before I commanded armies, I trained my mind in the isolation of study. Before I impressed the world with my abilities, I developed those abilities in the privacy of preparation. This is the secret of supremacy, invisible work that creates visible results. Most people want public recognition without private preparation. They desire visible success without invisible sacrifice. They expect external rewards without internal investment. They want to be seen as powerful without doing the work that creates power. This is fantasy, not strategy. But here's what most people don't understand about training in the dark. It builds more than skills. It builds character. It develops more than competence. It develops confidence. It creates more than capability. It creates certainty. When you know you have prepared thoroughly in private, you can perform fearlessly in public. I spent countless hours studying military history, analyzing battle strategies, and practicing decision-making scenarios that no one would ever witness. I trained my mind to think strategically when there was no strategy to implement. I rehearsed leadership when there was no one to lead. I practiced command when there was nothing to command. This preparation was invisible, but its results were undeniable. The work you do when no one is watching determines the person you become. When everyone is watching, your private habits create your public persona. Your secret disciplines become your visible strengths. Your hidden efforts produce your obvious advantages. There is no separation between who you are alone and who you become with others. Train your mind in the dark. While others sleep, study. While others play, practice. While others rest, rehearse. While others waste time, invest time. The hours others spend in entertainment, you spend in development. The energy others spend in distraction, you spend in discipline. This is how ordinary people become extraordinary. Your private training must be more demanding than your public performance. If you can handle the pressure you create for yourself in isolation, you can handle any pressure others create for you in public. If you can maintain discipline when no one is forcing you to be disciplined, you can maintain excellence when everyone is watching you perform. I practiced making difficult decisions when the stakes were low so I could make correct decisions when the stakes were high. I rehearsed staying calm under artificial pressure so I could remain composed under real pressure. I trained myself to think clearly during manufactured chaos so I could lead effectively during actual chaos. This is the principle of over-preparation, preparing for more than you expect to face so that whatever you face feels manageable. The man who trains in the dark for extreme scenarios finds normal scenarios effortless. The man who disciplines himself privately for extraordinary challenges finds ordinary challenges simple. But let me ask you this: what are you doing in private? To prepare for public success, how are you training your mind when no one is watching? What skills are you developing in secret that will serve you in public? What disciplines are you practicing in darkness that will create light in your future? Most people train only when training is convenient, comfortable, and socially visible. They exercise when they feel motivated. They study when they have energy. They practice when they have time. They prepare when they feel like preparing. This sporadic effort produces sporadic results, but the imperial mindset trains regardless of convenience, comfort, or visibility. It exercises when tired, studies when distracted, practices when busy, and prepares when unprepared. This consistent effort in difficult conditions produces consistent excellence in all conditions. Your secret training must include mental conditioning as well as skill development. Train your mind to focus when distracted. Practice staying calm when agitated. Rehearse making decisions when uncertain. Develop the ability to think clearly when thinking is difficult. These mental capacities are more valuable than any technical skill. I would deliberately put myself in uncomfortable situations. To build tolerance for discomfort, I would practice concentration exercises when my mind wanted to wander. I would force myself to make decisions quickly when I preferred to delay. I would choose difficult paths when easier paths were available. This was not self-punishment. This was self-preparation. The dark training also includes emotional conditioning. Practice controlling your emotions when emotions are high. Rehearse maintaining composure when others are losing theirs. Train yourself to respond thoughtfully when your instinct is to react impulsively. Develop the capacity to remain steady when everything around you is unstable. Your private training should be systematic, progressive, and challenging. Do not just practice what you already do well, practice what you need to do better. Do not just train when you feel strong, train especially when you feel weak. Do not just rehearse easy scenarios, focus on difficult scenarios that stretch your capabilities. The man who trains in the dark becomes dangerous in the light because his capabilities exceed what others can see. His preparation surpasses what others expect. His readiness exceeds what circumstances require. This over-preparation creates overwhelming advantage when preparation meets opportunity. Every day, spend time in private development that no one will know about and no one will applaud. Read books that expand your thinking. Practice skills that enhance your capabilities. Rehearse scenarios that challenge your limits. Build capacities that exceed current requirements. This invisible work becomes visible power. The champion trains when the stadium is empty. The general prepares when there is no war to fight. The emperor develops himself when there is no throne to claim. This is the discipline of delayed gratification, investing in future competence rather than present comfort. Train in the dark so you can dominate in the light. Prepare in private so you can perform in public. Develop in secret so you can demonstrate in the open. Work when no one is watching so you can win when everyone is watching. The work you do in darkness determines the light you bring to the world. Make that work worthy of the results you desire. Make that training equal to the transformation you seek. Make that preparation match the performance you demand. Victory belongs to those who earn it in the dark long before they claim it in the light. Train accordingly. Time is the ultimate currency, the supreme resource, the final frontier of personal empire. The man who controls his time controls his destiny. The man who wastes his time wastes his life. The man who respects time is rewarded by time, but the man who squanders time is punished by regret, limitation, and unfulfilled potential. I conquered nations by conquering time itself. While my enemies debated, I decided. While they prepared, I struck. While they waited for perfect conditions, I created advantageous conditions through superior timing. Speed became my weapon. Urgency became my ally. Time became my empire. Every moment you live is a moment you cannot relive. Every hour you waste is an hour lost forever. Every day you squander is a day that will never return. This is not philosophy, this is mathematics. Time is finite. Waste is optional. Efficiency is a choice. Excellence is a decision you make about how to spend the irreplaceable resource of time. But here's what most people don't understand about time mastery. It is not about working more hours. It is about making hours work more effectively. It is not about being busy. It is about being productive. It is not about filling time. It is about investing time. The goal is not to spend time, but to multiply. Time through strategic allocation. I did not work longer days than my opponents. I worked smarter days. I did not have more hours available. I used available hours more efficiently. I did not get more time. I got more results from the time I had. This is the difference between time management and time mastery. Your relationship with time reveals your relationship with life itself. If you treat time carelessly, you treat life carelessly. If you waste time freely, you waste opportunities constantly. If you respect time absolutely, you create possibilities exponentially. Time discipline is life discipline. The emperor treats every hour as an investment opportunity. Before spending time on any activity, he asks, will this advance my objectives? Will this develop my capabilities? Will this create value that outlasts the time invested? If the answer is no, the activity is rejected. If the answer is yes, the activity is optimized. Most people confuse being busy with being productive. They fill their schedules with activities that feel important but create no lasting value. They attend meetings that accomplish nothing. They engage in conversations that lead nowhere. They pursue projects that produce no results. This is not time management. This is time waste disguised as time use. Time blocking became my secret weapon. Every hour of every day had a designated purpose. Morning hours for strategic thinking, afternoon hours for tactical execution, evening hours for learning and reflection. No time was unaccounted for. No hour was undefined. No moment was left to chance. This precision created enormous leverage. Apply this military precision to your own schedule. Block time for your most important activities before allowing time for less important activities. Protect your prime hours for your prime objectives. Reserve your peak energy for your peak priorities. Defend your scheduled time like you defend your income. Both are forms of wealth that can be stolen if not guarded. But let me ask you this, how do you currently spend your time? If you tracked every hour for a week, would you be proud of the allocation? Are you investing time in activities that build your future, or are you spending time on activities that only fill your present? Are you trading time for progress or just trading time for busyness? The time master also understands the power of saying no to time requests that do not serve his mission. Every yes to one activity is a no to all other activities. Every commitment of time is an investment decision. Every social obligation is an opportunity cost. Choose your time commitments as carefully as you choose your financial investments. I said no to social gatherings that served no strategic purpose. I declined meetings that had no clear objectives. I avoided conversations that created no value. I rejected activities that advanced no goals. This was not antisocial. This was strategic. Time is too valuable to spend on activities that create no return on investment. Speed also became a competitive advantage. I made decisions quickly while others deliberated slowly. I moved fast while others moved cautiously. I acted immediately while others procrastinated indefinitely. This speed was not recklessness, it was calculated velocity based on adequate preparation and clear priorities. The man who moves quickly with good information beats the man who moves slowly with perfect information. The man who acts today with an adequate plan beats the man who waits until tomorrow for a perfect plan. The man who decides now with sufficient data beats the man who delays until later for complete data. Speed multiplies the value of competence. Your daily routine must include periods of intense focus where you eliminate all distractions and concentrate completely on your most important work. I called these periods conquest hours, time when nothing was allowed to interrupt the pursuit of strategic objectives. During conquest hours, all communication was blocked, all interruptions were refused, and all attention was focused. Create your own conquest hours. Turn off all notifications, close all unnecessary applications, remove all distractions. Focus completely on work that moves you toward your most important goals. These periods of intense concentration will produce more value than entire days of distracted activity. Time mastery also requires the discipline of completion. Most people start many projects but finish few projects. They begin enthusiastically but conclude reluctantly. They initiate frequently but complete rarely. This pattern wastes enormous amounts of time because incomplete projects create no value while consuming resources. I completed every campaign I started. I finished every project I initiated. I concluded every undertaking I began. This commitment to completion created momentum, built confidence, and produced results. Completion is where time investment becomes time profit. The time conqueror thinks in terms of seasons, not just days. He allocates different types of work to different periods based on energy levels, environmental factors, and strategic timing. He plans quarterly focuses, monthly objectives, weekly priorities, and daily actions. This hierarchical time management creates alignment between immediate actions and ultimate objectives. Start conquering time today. Audit your current time allocation. Eliminate activities that create no value. Optimize activities that create some value. Intensify activities that create maximum value. Protect your time like you protect your money. Invest your time like you invest your capital. Respect your time like you respect your life. Time is democracy's last refuge. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. But time is also empire's greatest opportunity. Those who use those hours most effectively create the most extraordinary results. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is not talent, luck, or circumstances. It is how effectively you conquer and deploy the resource of time. Master time, and you master life. Waste time, and you waste everything. The choice is yours, but the choice must be made consciously, deliberately, and immediately. Time waits for no one, not even emperors. But emperors do not wait for time. They seize it, shape it, and make it serve their vision. Conquer time, and you conquer everything. Let time conquer you, and you accomplish nothing. The battle begins now. The victory depends on how well you fight for control of every precious, irreplaceable moment. All warfare is psychological. All victory is mental. All conquest happens first. In the mind, your enemy's mind, and the minds of those who watch the battle unfold. The man who masters psychological warfare masters the ultimate weapon. The man who controls perceptions controls reality. The man who shapes beliefs shapes behavior. I conquered more territory through psychological dominance than through military force. My reputation defeated armies before my soldiers engaged them. My presence intimidated opponents before my strategies outmaneuvered them. My aura of invincibility created actual invincibility because enemies defeated themselves mentally before I defeated them physically. The foundation of psychological warfare is the projection of absolute confidence. When you appear certain, others become uncertain. When you seem unshakable, others start shaking. When you radiate authority, others naturally assume subordinate positions. Confidence is contagious, but so is doubt. Project the emotion you want others to feel. But here's what most people don't understand about psychological dominance. It is not about intimidation through aggression. It is about influence through presence. It is not about making others fear you. It is about making others respect your capabilities. It is not about creating anxiety in others. It is about eliminating anxiety in yourself. Your psychological state broadcasts constantly. Others read your energy before they hear your words. They sense your confidence before they analyze your arguments. They feel your certainty before they understand your logic. This nonverbal communication determines the psychological territory of every interaction. I would enter rooms with the bearing of someone who expected to be the most important person present. I would speak with the tone of someone whose words carried weight. I would listen with the attention of someone whose judgment mattered. This was not arrogance. This was strategic self-presentation designed to establish psychological authority. Your posture communicates your position. Your pace communicates your priorities. Your presence communicates your power. Stand like you own the room. Walk like you have somewhere important to be. Speak like your words matter. Listen like you are evaluating information for important decisions. These behaviors create psychological gravity that pulls others into your orbit. Silence becomes a weapon when wielded strategically. While others fill uncomfortable pauses with nervous chatter, you remain comfortable with quiet. While others rush to respond, you take time to consider. While others reveal their thoughts immediately, you reveal yours selectively. This restraint creates mystique and suggests hidden depth. When others make demands, I would pause before responding. This pause suggested that their demands required my careful consideration, which implied that my approval was valuable. When others made offers, I would reflect before accepting. This reflection implied that my participation was a privilege they needed to earn. These small delays created psychological leverage. The psychological warrior also masters the art of strategic unpredictability. When others expect aggression, display calm. When they expect emotion, demonstrate logic. When they expect immediate response, provide thoughtful delay. When they expect accommodation, show firmness. This unpredictability keeps others off balance while keeping you in control. But let me ask you this: what psychological impression do you currently create? When you enter a room, do others sense confidence or uncertainty? When you speak, do others hear authority or anxiety? When you negotiate, do others feel your strength or detect your weakness? Your psychological presence determines your social positioning. Master the psychology of first impressions, because first impressions create lasting frameworks for all subsequent interactions. Others decide your competence level within seconds of meeting you. They assess your authority within minutes of conversation. They determine your value within the first interaction. Make these initial moments count. I dressed with precision because appearance communicates before words do. I moved with purpose because movement suggests direction. I spoke with clarity because clear communication implies clear thinking. These details matter because psychology operates through accumulated impressions, not single dramatic gestures. Your questions reveal your psychological sophistication. Weak questions suggest weak thinking. Powerful questions suggest powerful analysis. Surface questions indicate surface awareness. Deep questions demonstrate deep understanding. The quality of your inquiries determines others' assessment of your intellectual authority. Instead of asking, "What do you think?" ask, "What factors are you considering in your analysis?" Instead of asking, "How are things going?" ask, "What metrics are you using to measure progress?" Instead of asking, "What should we do?" ask, "What are the strategic implications of each option?" These subtle differences create dramatically different psychological impressions. The psychological master also controls the emotional temperature of interactions. When others become heated, you remain cool. When situations become chaotic, you become calm. When pressure increases, you become more composed. This emotional regulation demonstrates superior self-control and suggests superior capability. I never allowed others' emotional state to determine my emotional state. If they became angry, I became analytical. If they became anxious, I became assured. If they became confused, I became clear. This emotional independence created psychological authority because it showed that I was controlled by internal factors, not external circumstances. Physical positioning also affects psychological dynamics. Sit where you can see the most while being seen by all. Stand where you can observe exits while controlling access. Position yourself where you can watch others' reactions while managing your own exposure. These spatial choices create subtle psychological advantages. The sophisticated psychological warrior understands that influence flows through relationships, not just through formal authority. Build alliances with those who influence others. Cultivate respect from those whose opinions matter. Develop loyalty from those whose support counts. This network amplifies your psychological reach beyond your direct presence. When building these relationships, remember that people are influenced more by how you make them feel than by what you say to them. Make important people feel important in your presence. Make capable people feel their capabilities are recognized. Make valuable people feel their value is appreciated. This emotional intelligence creates psychological bonds that serve strategic purposes. Timing also affects psychological impact. The same action can create different impressions depending on when it is taken. The same words can produce different effects depending on when they are spoken. The same silence can generate different meanings depending on when it is maintained. Master the psychology of timing. Practice psychological warfare daily in low-stakes situations so you can apply it effectively in high-stakes situations. Notice how your presence affects others. Observe how your words influence conversations. Study how your behavior shapes others' responses. This awareness develops your psychological sophistication. Remember that all leadership is psychological. All influence is mental. All power is ultimately the power to shape how others think, feel, and act. Master these psychological principles, and you master the most important battlefield of all, the human mind. The mind that controls other minds controls everything else. Develop that mind. Become that master. Wield that power. You will never rise above the story you believe about yourself. You will never achieve more than your identity allows. You will never become greater than the person you think you are. Your external results are always limited by your internal identity. Change your identity, and you change your entire world. Was born Napoleon Bonaparte, a minor nobleman from Corsica. I could have remained that, a small man from a small island with small ambitions, but I refused to accept that identity as permanent. I decided to become Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of France, conqueror of Europe, architect of legal codes that would outlast empires. This transformation began with identity, not circumstances. Your current identity was not chosen by you. It was constructed by others. Parents, teachers, society, and circumstances told you who you were, what you could achieve, and what limitations you should accept. They created a story about your capabilities, your worth, and your potential. Most people accept this story as truth and live within its boundaries forever. But here's what most people don't understand about identity power. Your identity is not fixed. It is fluid. It is not determined by your past. It is determined by your decisions. It is not limited by where you came from. It is liberated by where you choose to go. Identity is not what happened to you. Identity is what you decide about what happened to you. Every great achievement in human history began with someone refusing to accept the identity that others assigned to them. Every empire started with someone deciding they were more than circumstances suggested. Every revolution began with someone rejecting the story that society told about their limitations. Identity rebellion is the foundation of all extraordinary achievement. Your identity operates like a thermostat in your subconscious mind. When your results exceed what your identity believes possible, internal pressure builds to return to familiar levels. When your behavior contradicts your self-image, psychological discomfort forces you back toward consistency with your identity. This is why most people sabotage their own success. They achieve beyond their identity's comfort zone. I expanded my identity systematically. First, I saw myself as the best artillery officer in the French army. Then, I saw myself as the most capable general in the French military. Then, I saw myself as the natural leader of France. Then I saw myself as the destined ruler of Europe. Each identity expansion enabled the next level of achievement. Your identity expansion must be deliberate and progressive. You cannot leap from seeing yourself as mediocre to seeing yourself as magnificent. The psychological gap is too large, and your subconscious will reject the new identity as fantasy. But you can expand your identity incrementally, one level at a time, with evidence supporting each expansion. Start by identifying the current story you tell yourself about your capabilities. What do you believe you are capable of achieving? What do you think you deserve? What limitations do you accept as permanent? What excuses do you use to explain why certain achievements are beyond your reach? These beliefs form your current identity. Boundaries. Now question every limiting belief ruthlessly. Is this limitation based on evidence or assumption? Is this boundary real or imagined? Is this restriction permanent or temporary? Is this story empowering or limiting? Most of your perceived limitations exist only in your mind, not in reality. But let me ask you this. Who would you need to become to achieve your most ambitious goals? What identity would someone need to have to create the results you desire? What beliefs about themselves would someone need to hold to pursue the objectives you claim to want? This gap between your current identity and your required identity reveals the transformation needed. Your identity is reinforced by the language you use to describe yourself. Listen to your internal dialogue. Notice how you complete sentences that begin with "I am." Pay attention to the stories you tell others about your capabilities and limitations. These words are not just descriptions, they are programming instructions. For your subconscious mind, I never spoke of myself as lucky. I spoke of myself as strategic. I never described myself as fortunate. I described myself as prepared. I never characterized myself as favored by circumstances. I characterized myself as someone who created favorable circumstances. This language shaped my identity, which shaped my behavior, which shaped my results. Replace limiting language with empowering language. Instead of "I'm not good at," say "I am developing my ability to." Instead of "I cannot," say "I am learning how to." Instead of "I always," say "I used to." This linguistic shift creates identity flexibility that enables behavioral change. Your identity is also shaped by the standards you set for yourself and the consistency with which you meet those standards. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through. Every time you maintain your standards under pressure, you strengthen your identity as someone with principles. Every small act of self-discipline builds identity capital. I kept my word to myself before I kept my word to others. I met my private standards before I worried about public expectations. I honored my internal commitments before I sought external validation. This self-reliability became the foundation of my identity as someone who could be trusted with increasingly important responsibilities. Create identity-building rituals that reinforce your expanding self-image. If you want to become a leader, practice leadership in small situations. If you want to become disciplined, maintain discipline in minor matters. If you want to become excellent, pursue excellence in everyday activities. These behaviors provide evidence for your new identity. Your identity also determines which opportunities you notice and which opportunities you ignore. Someone who sees himself as average notices average opportunities. Someone who sees herself as exceptional notices exceptional opportunities. Someone who identifies as a leader sees leadership possibilities that others miss. Identity acts as a filter for perception. I noticed opportunities to demonstrate strategic thinking because I identified as a strategist. I recognized chances to show leadership because I saw myself as a leader. I perceived possibilities for expansion because I believed I was destined for expansion. Your identity determines not just what you pursue, but what you even see as possible. To pursue, the most powerful identity transformation involves expanding your temporal perspective. Most people identify with their current circumstances and recent past, but empires are built by those who identify with their future potential. I lived as the emperor I intended to become, not as the artillery officer I happen to be. Start living as the person you intend to become. Make decisions as that person would make them. Set standards as that person would set them. Pursue opportunities as that person would pursue them. Handle challenges as that person would handle them. This future-based identity becomes self-fulfilling. Prophecy. Your identity is your destiny blueprint. It determines what you attempt, what you expect, and what you accept. Expand your identity, and you expand your possibilities. Limit your identity, and you limit your life. The choice is yours, but the choice must be made consciously and repeatedly. You are not who you were. You are not even who you are. You are who you decide to become. Make that decision worthy of your potential, equal to your ambitions, and aligned with your deepest understanding of what you could achieve if you refuse to accept any limitations on your possibilities. Identity is power. Claim yours completely. Ordinary men build lives. Great men build civilizations. Ordinary men seek comfort. Great men seek significance. Ordinary men ask, "What can I get?" Great men ask, "What can I give that will outlast me?" The difference between mortality and immortality is the difference between consuming and creating, between taking and building, between existing and impacting. I did not conquer Europe to acquire territory. I conquered Europe to establish systems that would endure beyond my lifetime. I did not create the Napoleonic Code to solve immediate problems. I created it to influence justice for centuries. I did not build institutions to serve my convenience. I built them to serve humanity's progress long after my death. This is legacy thinking, the perspective that transcends personal mortality through permanent contribution. While others focused on immediate gratification, I focused on enduring impact. While they built for today, I built for tomorrow. While they created for themselves, I created for history. This is how mortal men achieve immortality. Your life will end, but your legacy can live forever. Your body will decay, but your contributions can compound across generations. Your name may be forgotten, but your impact can echo through eternity. The question is not whether you will die. The question is whether you will leave something behind that makes your having lived matter. But here's what most people don't understand about legacy building. It is not about grand gestures. It is about systematic construction. It is not about single achievements. It is about accumulated contributions. It is not about being remembered. It is about creating value that continues serving others long. After you cannot serve them yourself, most people live backwards. They prioritize immediate pleasure over long-term purpose. They choose short-term comfort over long-term contribution. They select temporary satisfaction over timeless significance. They build for their lifetime instead of building for all time. This is not living. This is dying slowly while breathing. Legacy builders think in decades, not days. They plan in generations, not quarters. They build in centuries, not years. They ask not, "What will this do for me now?" but "What will this do for the world long after I am gone?" This temporal expansion transforms every decision from personal to universal significance. I established educational systems that would develop minds for centuries. I created legal frameworks that would ensure justice for generations. I built infrastructure that would facilitate progress for decades. I documented strategies that would inform leaders for all time. These contributions multiplied my impact far beyond what any single lifetime could achieve. Your legacy is not what you accumulate, it is what you contribute. It is not what you acquire, it is what you create. It is not what you own, it is what you give that keeps giving. The man who focuses on getting dies rich but irrelevant. The man who focuses on giving dies poor but immortal. Every day ask yourself, am I building something that will matter when I no longer matter? Am I creating value that will serve others when I can no longer serve? Am I developing something that will continue improving the world when I am no longer in the world? This daily question transforms routine activities into legacy activities. Your work becomes legacy work when it solves problems larger than your personal problems. Your efforts become legacy efforts when they serve purposes greater than your individual purposes. Your achievements become legacy achievements when they benefit people beyond your immediate circle. This expansion from personal to universal is the transformation from mortality to immortality. But let me ask you this. What are you building that will outlast you? What systems are you creating that will continue operating without your presence? What knowledge are you documenting that will serve future generations? What problems are you solving that will stay solved after you are gone? Legacy building requires the courage to plant trees whose shade you will never enjoy. It demands the vision to start projects you may never see completed. It requires the faith to invest in outcomes you may never witness. This is the ultimate expression of leadership, creating benefit for others that exceeds benefit for yourself. The legacy builder also focuses on developing other people, because human development multiplies impact exponentially. Every person you teach becomes a teacher. Every leader you develop becomes a developer of other leaders. Every mind you influence influences other minds. This multiplicative effect creates geometric legacy expansion. I trained generals who trained other generals. I developed administrators who developed other administrators. I influenced thinkers who influenced other thinkers. This human development strategy ensured that my methods, principles, and vision would spread far beyond my direct reach. People become your living legacy, carrying your influence into futures you will never see. Your legacy is also built through the standards you establish and maintain. Every time you choose excellence over adequacy, you raise the bar for others. Every time you select principle over convenience, you strengthen the foundation for others. Every time you pick long-term thinking over short-term thinking, you model the perspective for others. These standards become contagious. Others observe your commitment to excellence and elevate their own standards. They witness your integrity under pressure and strengthen their own principles. They see your dedication to something greater than yourself and discover their own capacity for significance. Your example becomes their inspiration. Legacy building also requires documenting your knowledge, methods, and insights so they can be transferred to others. I wrote extensively about military strategy, leadership principles, and administrative systems. These writings preserved my thinking beyond my lifetime and enabled others to build upon my innovations rather than starting from zero. What knowledge do you possess that could benefit others if properly documented? What methods have you developed that could help others if clearly explained? What insights have you gained that could guide others if thoughtfully shared? Your wisdom becomes worthless if it dies with you. The ultimate legacy is not monuments built in your honor. It is progress achieved through your contributions. It is not your name on buildings, it is improvement in lives. It is not recognition of your achievements, it is continuation of your impact. True legacy is measured not by what people remember about you, but by how their world is better, because you were in it. Start building your legacy today. Choose projects that will matter beyond your lifetime. Develop people who will develop other people. Create systems that will continue creating value. Document wisdom that will guide future generations. Solve problems that will stay solved. This is how mortal beings achieve immortal impact. The graveyards are full of people who built lives instead of legacies. Do not join them. Build something that will outlast you. Create something that will continue serving others when you can no longer serve. Leave something behind that makes your having lived matter forever. Your legacy begins with your next decision. Make it worthy of immortality. Adversity is not your enemy, it is your education. Hardship is not your punishment, it is your preparation. The storm is not coming to destroy you, it is coming to reveal you. Every challenge you face is a question from life asking, are you ready for greatness? Your response to this question determines your destiny. I faced more opposition than most men face in 10 lifetimes. Coalitions of nations united against me. Betrayals from those I trusted. Defeats that would have broken lesser men. Exile from the empire I built. But each setback taught me something that success never could. Each defeat revealed weaknesses that victory had hidden. Each storm made me stronger for the next storm. The man who has never been tested cannot be trusted with important responsibilities. The man who has never faced pressure cannot perform under pressure. The man who has never survived difficulty cannot lead others through difficulty. Adversity is not optional for those who seek greatness. It is required. It is the price of admission to the ranks of the truly powerful. But here's what most people don't understand about adversity. It does not create character, it reveals character. It does not make you strong. It shows you where you are weak so you can become strong. It does not give you capabilities. It forces you to discover capabilities you did not know you possessed. The storm does not change you, it unveils you. Most people pray for easy lives. They seek comfort, avoid challenge, and run from difficulty. They want success without struggle, victory without battle, crown without conquest. But this is impossible. Every crown is forged in fire. Every victory is purchased with pain. Every achievement is built on a foundation of adversity overcome. I prepared for storms before storms arrived. I built mental resilience during calm periods so I could access it during chaotic periods. I practiced decision-making under artificial pressure so I could think clearly under real pressure. I trained my mind to find opportunity in obstacles so that obstacles would become opportunities. Mental preparation for adversity begins with accepting that adversity is inevitable. You will face setbacks. You will encounter resistance. You will experience defeats. You will suffer losses. You will be tested beyond your current limits. This is not pessimism. This is realism. The prepared mind expects storms and builds accordingly. When storms come, the unprepared are surprised. The prepared are ready. When challenges arise, the unprepared panic. The prepared proceed. When obstacles appear, the unprepared retreat. The prepared advance. This readiness is not luck. It is preparation, meeting opportunity to create advantage from adversity. Your response to adversity determines your relationship with adversity. If you curse it, it becomes your enemy. If you fear it, it becomes your master. If you embrace it, it becomes your teacher. If you use it, it becomes your tool. If you love it, it becomes your ally. The storm responds to your attitude toward the storm. I learned to love the struggle because the struggle was creating the person I needed to become. Every battle taught me strategy. Every setback revealed strategic gaps. Every defeat educated me about victory. Every challenge developed capabilities I would need for larger challenges. Adversity was not hindering my progress. It was enabling my progress. But let me ask you this. How do you currently respond to difficulty? Do you see challenges as problems to avoid or opportunities to develop? Do you treat setbacks as endings or beginnings? Do you view obstacles as permanent barriers or temporary challenges? Your answers reveal your adversity mindset. The storm-prepared mind thinks in phases, not just moments. It understands that difficulty is temporary, but the strength gained from difficulty is permanent. It recognizes that pain is seasonal, but the growth from pain is eternal. It realizes that challenges come and go, but the capabilities developed through challenges remain forever. Every storm you survive prepares you for larger storms. Every challenge you overcome qualifies you for greater challenges. Every difficulty you master equips you for more significant difficulties. This is the progression of greatness. Each level of adversity develops the strength needed for the next level of opportunity. Prepare your mind for adversity by studying how others have overcome similar challenges. Read about leaders who faced defeat and created victory. Learn from those who encountered obstacles and found solutions. Study those who experienced setbacks and achieved comebacks. Their stories become your preparation for your storms. Physical preparation also matters. Build your body's resilience through deliberate challenge. Train in uncomfortable conditions. Exercise when you do not feel like exercising. Push through fatigue when others quit. This physical toughness creates mental toughness that serves you when life becomes difficult. Your support systems must be storm-tested. Fair weather friends flee when storms arrive. Conditional allies abandon you when loyalty becomes costly. Temporary partners disappear when commitment becomes challenging. Build relationships with people who remain steady when circumstances become unsteady. I surrounded myself with people who performed better under pressure, not worse. I chose allies who became stronger during storms, not weaker. I selected advisors who thought more clearly during crisis, not less clearly. These relationships became force multipliers during difficult periods. Financial preparation for storms means building resources during calm periods that can sustain you during difficult periods. Save when earning is easy so you can survive when earning is hard. Invest when markets are stable so you have resources when markets are volatile. Build when conditions are favorable so you can maintain when conditions become unfavorable. The storm prepared also develop multiple income sources, diverse skill sets, and redundant capabilities. Single points of failure create vulnerability. Multiple options create anti-fragility. The person who depends on one source of anything is unprepared for the storms that will definitely come. Most importantly, prepare your purpose for adversity. When external supports fail, internal purpose must remain strong. When circumstances become unclear, mission must remain clear. When everything else is shaken, your reason for existing must remain unshakable. Purpose is your anchor in every storm. I never lost sight of my mission to create lasting impact through strategic excellence. When armies were defeated, the mission remained. When allies betrayed me, the mission endured. When circumstances became impossible, the mission provided direction. Purpose is what enables you to find meaning in suffering and direction in chaos. Start preparing for your storms today. Build mental resilience through deliberate challenge. Develop physical toughness through disciplined training. Create financial reserves through systematic saving. Cultivate relationships through consistent loyalty. Clarify purpose through deep reflection. The storm is coming. This is not a threat. It is a promise. Life tests everyone who seeks to rise above average. The question is not whether you will face adversity. The question is whether you will be ready when adversity faces you. Prepare for the storm, and you will discover that you are stronger than the storm. Embrace the storm, and you will find that the storm makes you stronger. Love the storm, and you will realize that storms create the strength that smooth seas never could. You were not born for calm waters. You were born for conquering storms. Prepare accordingly. The empire you have been seeking already exists. It exists within you. It has always existed within you. It will always exist within you. You are not building an empire. You are discovering the empire that you are. You are not becoming powerful. You are recognizing the power that you possess. You are not seeking greatness. You are awakening to the greatness that seeks expression through you. I did not conquer Europe by acquiring external power. I conquered Europe by expressing internal power. I did not become emperor by changing my circumstances. I became emperor by changing my understanding of my circumstances. I did not build an empire outside myself. I revealed the empire that already existed inside myself and projected it onto the world. This is the final truth about power, the ultimate understanding about empire, the deepest secret about greatness. You already have everything you need. You already are everything you need to be. You already possess everything required for whatever you wish to accomplish. The only thing missing is your recognition of what you already have. Every quality you admire in others already exists within you. Every capability you observe in great leaders already resides in your potential. Every strength you see in historical figures already lies dormant in your being. The difference is not in possession. The difference is in activation, recognition, and expression. You think you need to become disciplined, but discipline already exists within you. You simply need to access it. You think you need to develop confidence, but confidence already resides within you. You simply need to express it. You think you need to acquire power, but power already lives within you. You simply need to claim it. But here's what most people don't understand about their internal empire. It remains hidden until you decide to reveal it. It stays dormant until you choose to activate it. It lies unused until you commit to using it. The empire within you is not automatic. It is available. Availability requires activation. Activation requires decision. Decision requires courage. Most people spend their lives looking outside themselves for what already exists inside themselves. They seek validation from others for worth they already possess. They pursue approval from external sources for value they already contain. They chase power from outside circumstances when ultimate power resides in their internal choices. I stopped seeking external permission for internal authority. I stopped requesting external validation for internal worth. I stopped pursuing external power when I recognized internal power. This shift from external dependency to internal sovereignty is the difference between being ruled and ruling, between following empires and becoming empire. Your thoughts are your territory. Your emotions are your domain. Your decisions are your sovereignty. Your actions are your power. Your character is your kingdom. Your purpose is your empire. Rule these completely and you rule everything that matters. Neglect these and you rule nothing regardless of external circumstances. The emperor does not seek a throne. He creates a throne wherever he sits. The emperor does not pursue authority. He embodies authority wherever he stands. The emperor does not chase power. He generates power through his presence. This is internal empire, the kingdom that travels with you because it exists within you. Your mind is either your palace or your prison. Your emotions are either your allies or your enemies. Your habits are either your servants or your masters. Your beliefs are either your foundation or your limitations. Your choices are either your freedom or your chains. The difference lies in recognition and direction. Start ruling your internal empire today. Take command of your thoughts. Eliminate those that serve no purpose and strengthen those that advance your objectives. Govern your emotions. Use those that create value and redirect those that create problems. Direct your habits. Maintain those that build strength and eliminate those that create weakness. But let me ask you this. Are you currently ruling your internal empire or being ruled by it? Are your thoughts serving your objectives or working against them? Are your emotions advancing your purpose or hindering your progress? Are your habits building your strength or revealing your weakness? The recognition of your internal empire changes everything because it removes all excuses and reveals all possibilities. You can no longer blame external circumstances for internal choices. You can no longer credit outside forces for inside capabilities. You can no longer deny responsibility for results that come from your decisions. This recognition is simultaneously terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it removes the comfort of victimhood and the convenience of blame. Liberating because It restores the power of choice and the possibility of transformation. When you recognize that you are the empire, you realize that you are also the emperor. Every external empire in history began with someone recognizing their internal empire and expressing it in the world. Every great leader started by leading themselves completely. Every powerful person began by claiming the power they already possessed. Every emperor started by recognizing their internal sovereignty. You do not need anyone's permission to rule your internal empire. You do not need anyone's approval to express your internal authority. You do not need anyone's validation to claim your internal power. You already possess the crown. You simply need to wear it. You already hold the scepter. You simply need to wield it. The empire that you are has no external boundaries because it is not limited by external circumstances. It cannot be conquered by others because others have no access to your internal domain. It cannot be destroyed by setbacks because setbacks are external events that cannot touch internal sovereignty. It cannot be diminished by criticism because criticism is other people's opinion about your external expression, not your internal reality. This empire grows through use, not through acquisition. It expands through expression, not through accumulation. It strengthens through exercise, not through possession. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you expand your empire. Every time you select growth over safety, you strengthen your domain. Every time you pick purpose over pleasure, you increase your sovereignty. The world needs your empire. It needs the unique combination of capabilities, perspectives, and purposes that only you possess. It needs the particular solution that only your empire can provide. It needs the specific contribution that only your sovereignty can create. Your empire is not just for you, it is through you for the world. Stop looking for external empires to join and start expressing the internal empire you are. Stop seeking external leaders to follow and start becoming the internal leader you already are. Stop pursuing external validation and start trusting internal authority. Stop chasing external power and start claiming internal sovereignty. You are not becoming an empire. You are recognizing that you have always been an empire. You are not building power. You are discovering power that has always existed within you. You are not creating greatness. You are expressing greatness that is your birthright and destiny. The final command is simple. Rule yourself completely, express yourself authentically, and impact the world powerfully. You already have what it takes. You have always had what it takes. You will always have what it takes. Now go prove it. The empire you seek is the empire you are. Claim it, rule it, express it. The world is waiting for your reign to begin. If this message spoke to you, subscribe for more powerful mindset content that will help you claim your internal empire and express it in the world. Let us know in the comments, what part hit you the hardest? What insight will you apply immediately? What aspect of your internal empire will you start ruling today? You already have what it takes. Now, go prove it.